that's right. Okay, we're going live in pre-show and welcoming in a couple dozen folks in chat. Let's see, we've got Mike Latta and Henry and Michael Graves and Rod and Prashana. Bill, Kenny, Rich is here. Kyle is here. Giles is here. John, Dave, Martin, Tommy, John, Amy. Hey, Amy, glad you're here. Elmar is here. Ken, Dave, Gilliam, Rudy. Awesome. Now, if you say, hold on, Tom, you didn't read out my name, that's probably because you're either watching us on Facebook or you're watching us on YouTube directly. But if that's the case, come on over to easternshorebroadcasting.com, right down there, and click the Watch Live tab, and that will get you the show, so you can see that. And we've got my guests, Larry Magen, and Ronnie, pronounce your last name for me again.
It's Kokoski.
Kokoski, okay.
Good Polish name.
All right, very good, very good. And we are in pre-show here for another 3 minutes. And we've got a great group of folks, some of them here from the U.S., some from England, some from France. Let's see, where else is Germany, Switzerland, and Prashana has gotten up at 2:30 in the morning to watch us. He is in Nepal, and so he is our probably our most faithful listener. Either that or he's just a real masochist. But Martin's here from England. John is here. John is in England now. Okay. He was in Spain. Or is that Blaze? I can't, on TV. Who is that today? Chris Watts is here. Welcome, Chris. Glad to have you. Come on over to easternshorebroadcasting.com and click the Watch Live tab, and that'll get you in on the chat. easternshorebroadcasting.com. It's right there, easternshorebroadcasting.com. Okay. Now, Larry and Ronnie. We've talked a little bit, Larry, about kind of the content of the show. Let me give you an idea of the flow, so you'll be ready. In a minute and 30 seconds, we'll start the show. We'll go live with the show, and it'll start out with the jaws of death opening up and revealing me. That's kind of how it generally starts. And I'll have a little monologue and some announcements, and then I'll introduce you guys, and I'll ask you some leading questions and just, let you go. And so we'll probably switch back and forth between this shot when you guys are really on a roll and this shot right here where I can kind of be the moderator. Now, I wished I'd had three that were all the same or else one that was a little bigger, but this was all I could do at the drop of a hat. So we'll work on this and fix it for next time. Looks like Jens is here. Welcome, Jens. Glad to have you. So we've got a minute. Questions for me, Larry, Ronnie.
Aaron, can you move the chat box down just a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No questions, really. I mean, this is what we do. We've done 100 live shows together, so that's kind of what we do. We just go with the flow. We feel it, and we fly with it. So we're going to be fine.
So, Larry, it's Night Owl TV. Sterling Originals, QVC, Shop NBC, Magen Communications. That's kind of a little quick run back. Did I miss something?
Yeah, I mean, shit, you missed about 20, but that's okay. I mean, I can't even remember them all. Okay, I'm a very old man, and I've had my own jewelry business, my own clothing stores. I've been an NFL player agent too, back in the early 90s, so I've done a lot.
Awesome.
When you start mentioning Magen Communications, that was all about special event marketing and corporate partnerships, corporate sponsorships, things like that. I mean, there's a lot. And Sterling Original is my current job, my full-time job. Yeah.
Right. Gotcha.
And that's a watch company.
And you've got the watch gig. That's Sterling Underground, right?
Well, Sterling Underground is one of the properties of Night Owl TV.
Okay.
We have two properties on the network right now. We have Chillin' with Larry Magen, which if you want to, when we get into the show, if you want to ask me, I think how we got started, I'll tell you about that. But we cover a lot of classic films and also, whatever our guest is into when I have a guest. I don't always have a guest. And then the other property is Sterling Underground, where I use product for my full-time job, and we actually do a home shopping type of show, and we're actually selling some old discontinued models at ridiculous below wholesale pricing. I mean, it's like giveaways merchandise. It's unbelievable.
I love it. I love it. I love a deal.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well,
yeah, we got them.
enough of this idle chit chat. Let's get moving. All right.
Let's get to the show.
Well, let's get to the show. I'm gonna mute you guys, and then
Okay.
if I'm on my game, Ronnie, you'll have to wave at me, and make sure I'm paying
Sure.
attention. But I got to turn your mic back on. That's the tricky part. Okay, so let me make sure I got the right mic. Yep, there we go. Okay,
You want a
got
mic
the
flag,
right mic.
Ronnie?
I never
And,
had one. Huh?
You want one?
Sure, why not?
All right.
All right, you guys
Go
work
ahead.
on that, and we'll get ready for the show here. Any questions from the chat room before we get going? Anything? Let's see. Tommy says this show doesn't flow. Tommy, come on, get with it, guy. All right, very good, very good, very good. Let's see. One last mention. We're not in show yet. We're just in pre-show. Just a reminder, if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or Periscope, come on over to easternshorebroadcasting.com. That way you can get in on the chat. That's the fun part. So we'll be right back. We're going to go to fade to black and all that other good stuff, and we'll be here. Hang on. Well, hello, welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiots. I know. It's hard to contain yourself. All the excitement. I'm teasing, of course. I'm so glad you're here today. I'm really excited about our show. We've got great guests on the show. Normally, we don't have guests of this caliber, but today is really special. But first, we got to get the monologue-y stuff out of the way and the newsy stuff out of the way. First off, you need to know, number one, this show is a giant infomercial. It's an infomercial. It's a lot of info and a little bit of mercial. And let me get the mercial out of the way so we can get to the info, get to the good stuff. But the mercial part is that PTZ Optics cameras, the camera guys, all their new cameras are coming out ready for NDI. And if you already have a PTZ Optics camera that the serial number starts in a 7 and it's a generation 2 and it has PoE, power over Ethernet, then you are probably eligible for this upgrade. The upgrade regular price is $600. It is on special until sometime in September, unknown date, for $300. And it's a pre-sale kind of thing. I mean, you don't get it right now, but you'll get it in September. You can go to our website, easternshorebroadcasting.com, and get it there. You can go to PTZ Optics and get it from them directly. Same price either way, but you get me with it. By the way, we're also an authorized vMix reseller. We resell for PTZ Optics, Magewell's, X Keys, and we've got 2 more lines that we're looking at that we hope to have on soon. Oh, by the way, go to the vMix forum, and that's, I don't have a URL for it, so you'll just have to write it down. It's forums, plural, forums.vmix.com, and look in there for the open source Wi-Fi tally light project. Yes, tally lights that run on Wi-Fi. You need to take a look at that. And that's forums.vmix.com. Somebody has worked on that on the side. It's kind of a plug-in for vMix. But if you're interested in tally lights and you don't want to run a lot of wires, a lot of cables and cords, then the Wi-Fi tally light project may be for you. And by the way, the vMix forum is a great source of information about vMix. And speaking of great sources, a great source for information about streaming in general is going to be our, right down there at the bottom, our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/streaming-idiots. And there are about 800 folks in this group. There's a chat going on virtually 24/7 about streaming and cameras and software and PCs and microphones and CDNs and internet and all the different piece parts that make up a great stream. So if you are interested in that, come on over, join the group, and we'd love to have you. The big announcement that's coming down the pike today, it's not my announcement, but Magewell, the capture card folks, are also known for their USB 3, HDMI, and SDI dongles. Well, they have just introduced today, I don't think it's shipping yet, but they've introduced today a 4K dongle. That's right, 4K over USB 3. I can't wait to get my hands on one. When I do, I'll review it here so you can see it, and we'll be putting those in our store as well, too. Coming up in September, you know, we have our own line of live streaming gear that we build here. Some of it's custom built for the customer. Some of it's off the shelf. You can go to our website and find out more about it. But coming up in September, when you buy live streaming gear PC from us, you get a free X keys with it. And you know how we love our X keys. vMix 20 is in beta right now. It's slated to be released maybe next month. So keep your eye out for that. And I know, last but not least, we have in the studio, you can see it over my shoulder, slightly out of focus, a bird dog from the guys at Bird Dog TV. And we did a test yesterday on the latency with that and found out that the bird dog is, 80, 70 milliseconds. Somebody do the math for me. 60 or 70 milliseconds. No, that would be more like 72 milliseconds behind SDI. So that's a frame and a half, maybe 2 frames. We'll be doing some more testing with that. In fact, not only will we be doing more testing with it, we have the creator of Bird Dog TV on the show next week. That's Wednesday, August 30th. Dan Mial from Bird Dog will be here to talk to us more about Bird Dog. One other thing. Don't forget, we have in our store these really cool frames, and we'll be using one in just a second. You know, just little frames that chop the screen up so you can put different cameras in different piece parts. And they're $29.99. That's $29.99 for about 200 of them. All sorts of shapes and sizes and colors and thicknesses. And somebody's saying in the chat room, Tom's calculations are not good. We were having trouble with that in pre-show. But that's in the store too, under graphics. So take a look at that, and I commend it to you. Our guest today is Larry Magen, and Larry has with him his assistant, and Ronnie is with him today. But Larry is one of these guys that has done so many amazing things, and I'm not BSing you. I mean, normally you're thinking, come on, Tom, tell us the truth. Seriously, I'm not BSing you. Normally I would BS you a little bit. But Larry is one of these guys that's done so many amazing different kinds of things. I mean, he had his own communication company. He was a NFL football players rep. He was a pitch man on QVC and Shop NBC. He now does a show called or has a network called Night Owl TV, and in that he does a show about watches. But he also is president of a watch company called Sterling Originals. So we're going to, with very little further ado, because I probably screwed up at least a portion of it, I want to bring Larry and Ronnie into the show. Welcome to the show, guys. Glad to have you. Larry and Ronnie, glad to have you in the house.
How's it going?
Hey, Tom. Thank you so much for the introduction. There is a few corrections I could make, but I'm going to let it all go except one. Just one. Ronnie is not my assistant, okay? Ronnie is the studio engineer. Without Ronnie, I could not have cannot do all the things that we do. He's been with me for 6.5 years, so he's really he's not my assistant. Okay.
Awesome.
Oh, thanks, Larry.
Awesome.
That's the only thing I'm going to correct. All the other stuff, who cares?
I got you. Okay, so you just keep Ronnie around for good
Okay.
looks. I understand. All right. So Larry, let's start out just a little bit. And Ronnie, you chime in too. But Larry, this whole live streaming gig, I mean, the whole live streaming idea, when did this first sort of show up on your radar? When did you become aware of it and think that this is something you wanted to do?
Well, great question. Man, starting off with the fact that I've been in home shopping television since 1996. Of course, back then the internet was maybe just being born, at least for the public anyway. So we didn't pay too much attention to it back then. But I think right from the beginning, or a year in maybe, and I've been in it for, many, many years, it's referred to as DRTV, direct response television. You always get the wheels turning. You start thinking about, could I do my own show, and have my own shopping show on cable TV, and everything is geared towards cable TV. And then you start looking at things like, well, you need a transponder. Well, a transponder is $150,000 a month with a 2-year commitment up front, so that's out. Well, maybe I can rent time on a transponder. We use a link farm and send a signal up to the transponder, and then, well, now you got to have CSOs, cable system operators, pick up your signal, and that costs, $1 to $2 per sub per year. So, I mean, that you need, deep pockets. And so you start thinking about cable TV, and this has been going on for years. And, as time has been passing on, 2005, 2006, 2007, the internet becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's gotten to the point, and I know we're still in the beginning, I know that, but you start realizing that everybody has computers, everybody has eyeballs on the TV screen on the computer, and you start realizing, wait a minute, what about just doing it on the internet and forget cable TV? You think, that's got to be cheap. Forget about cable TV. We can always add that later once we make millions of dollars. And somewhere along the line of about 2010, I got this idea what I wanted to do, and by that point I had been in home shopping for many, many years. I've been on, like you mentioned, QVC and small stations and Shop NBC and JTV and Shop at Home and the Shopping Channel in Canada. I can't even remember them all. I started thinking, I'm going to do something special. We're going to do home shopping for the rich. We're not going to sell little $99 stuff. And it's ironic that I'm saying that now, Tom, because, on our show now on Night Owl TV on Sterling Underground, we're selling lots of items under $100. But, we're just kind of using it to build our infrastructure. The point is, I started thinking about doing a show, and home shopping for the rich would be, items 10,000, 12,000, 15,000, 20,000, 8,000, high-end jewelry, high-end watches, which I do have access to. And I started looking, and the idea of the format of the show was going to be home shopping, but not in the traditional sense that we see it on television. It was going to be more like shopping, but mixed with entertainment. So instead of showing 10 to 12 items in an hour, you might only show 1 or 2, and you might have some entertainment and musicians and things like that, and wrap it in entertainment and target it towards very rich people. So, I started looking to put a package together and get a studio, and all the while I'm at that point president of Sterling Original, which is a watch company, and my boss was very, very supportive, and he still is to this day, in New York. And a person who was working with me, she was a PR lady, said, Larry, I saw an ad on Craigslist that had a webcast studio out in Port Jefferson. At this time, I was living in New York at that time. And so I said, well, I'll go check it out. And it was really cheap. So I went out there. And as soon as I walked in the door, I knew this studio is not what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of a big studio because I worked in big studios with a room for a band and all this kind of stuff. And this was a little room. I mean, literally, it was in a commercial building, but it was a small webcast studio using webcams in a small room. And the two guys were young rockers, and they were nice guys. I'm still friends with them today. Their channel is called Zidalza. They're out of New York. And I looked at it. I said, oh, guys, this is not what I'm looking for. Well, why not? Why can't you use this place? Well, I'm looking for a bigger studio and proper cameras and all this stuff. So I said, though, what might be kind of fun? I said, it might be kind of fun just to do a sports talk show, which is not what I went there to look for. I'm thinking about doing this entertainment show with jazz music and home shopping for the rich, and I just want to put my package together. But I see this little studio with a desk and some webcams, and they got it really together. I said, it might be fun to do a sports talk show. I'm very, knowledgeable in sports, active in sports, football, baseball, basketball. It might be kind of fun. So what do you charge? And the guy says, well, you get one show a week for an hour a week, and we give you a package of 12 shows for $1,000, and we make an intro for you and everything. I said, are you kidding me? 12 shows for $1,000? He said, yeah. And on the wall, he had a big, chalkboard, not a chalkboard, but, a grease board, and he's got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and he's got the hours, 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., and it goes up to 10 p.m. And I guess the last show goes 9 to 10. And I said, well, if I were to do it, could I do it?
Of the software. So let's see. Let's see if we got back on now. And if we can get hooked back up with Larry. And, if all else fails, this is an internet show. Let's give him a call. Hang on a second. See if we can negotiate this. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Hey, Larry. Larry, Tom Sinclair. Yeah, we lost. See if you can hook back up again.
Ronnie's trying.
Okay,
There we go. We're good.
Okay, we're back.
We're back.
So it started off as a sports talk show, and then it blossomed into something else. And then I had to move to Minneapolis, and I couldn't find a webcast studio, and I built my own. And I found Ronnie, and he's been with me for 6.5 years. I mean, there's more to it, but you'll find out. If you ask me, I'm going to give it to you.
Well, no, that's great. That's great. And I apologize for that, for the outage. I'm not sure what happened. I think my internet hiccuped here. That is the weak link in all of this live streaming stuff. If all of a sudden you have an internet issue, it's hard to have a backup internet, especially at high speeds. All right, so you're doing the webcast thing, and Ronnie is coming on board. And tell me the rest of this story, because it's the $5 part that I want to get to. That's where we're going to end this conversation, because that's the meat of it, I think.
The $5. Not sure what that means.
The $5 server. Yeah.
Oh, okay. He's talking about Beluga.
I know where he's going.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Beluga.
Well,
right.
I met Ronnie when I first moved to Minneapolis, and I had to move for my job. Okay. My first 17 shows were with the studio I was renting in Port Chester, called Zadalza, and it was really cheap. He charged me $1,000 for 12 shows. But when I moved, I tried to find a webcast studio out here in Minneapolis. Could not find anything. Everything was TV studios, and you know what those go for. So I decided I'm going to just build my own, right here in my home. And I put it out on Craigslist, and I got about, 10 or 15 responses, and I narrowed it down to 5. And Ronnie was the first guy I met with, and I liked him immediately. I didn't meet with anybody else, and he's been with me ever since, 6.5 years later, and we built the studio here. And, started building our network, Night Owl TV, and we kept the show going for Chilling with Larry Magen. We've done about 100 episodes now. And about 15 weeks ago, we started a new show where we're actually selling product. So when we started doing that, we actually started generating some revenues. And we just had our best show last Thursday night. But along the way, expenses start piling up. You think, well, a brick and mortar store has to pay rent. When you're online, you don't have to pay any rent. It's cheaper. But not so fast, my friend. The expenses really pile up, and especially the way we're doing things, and I'm more than happy to get into that. But Ronnie, being a computer programmer and an audio engineer and a streaming savant, he has really helped as far as not only keeping the cost down, but I believe we're doing things that nobody in the country is doing. We are doing some unbelievable things to just, which I'm happy to get into, but really cut the cost.
Tell me more.
Well, I'm going to throw it to Ronnie, but first let me set this up. One of the major expenses, and there's been other stories along the way, but we decided, we went to a new, I don't know if you call this a CDN or not, but our streaming platform is a company called Stream Monkey, which actually I found them on your group, Streaming Idiots, on the Facebook page, because I was unhappy with the platform I was with, which was DaCast, and I know you're familiar with them. I was very unhappy with their service, and they really angered me quite a bit. And, we used to use Livestream when we were doing this 5-6 years ago, but Livestream's fees went way up. And so, DaCast was fairly affordable, but they weren't really right for us. And I went on your Facebook page, Tom, and I just put a feeler out there. Anybody got some suggestions? And I got, 10 different suggestions of companies I never heard of. And I gave them all to Ronnie. And I said, figure out which one's the best one for us. And Ronnie came back with Stream Monkey. And so we start using them. And one of the things I noticed in the back end of Stream Monkey is that they've got a preset for Roku. Now, I have 2 Roku TVs right here in this studio, okay? It's just a smart TV that's, it's like internet over the TV. And I thought, well, this is interesting. They've got a preset for Roku. What do we have to do to get this? And we followed through the steps and everything. We hadn't done this. We had not done this before. And we set up a Roku channel for Night Owl TV. But we hadn't told anybody about it yet because we weren't ready to roll it out. We were still playing with it, okay? But evidently what they must have done, and I've never seen it to this day, and I've never got any confirmation, but what they must have done is they somehow promoted it. We put our nice logo on there for the channel board and everything. And they must have promoted it as, here's a new channel that you can try or something like that, new channels or, whatever. And all of a sudden, we were on a plan. I think our plan at that time was $99 a month. Now we're up to like $299 a month. But in any case, at that time, it was back in March or February of this year. It was like $99 a month and we were getting, I think, 250 or 500 megabytes of bandwidth or something like that. And all of a sudden, when the bill came up at the end of the month, we owed Stream Monkey like $800. And I'm going, what? What? How did this happen? Okay, so I called and by the way, they're really nice people over there. Nicholas is fantastic. Mindy is fantastic. They're just really always willing to help and talk to you and be there for you. And I talked to Nicholas and, I said, how could this happen? We didn't use this much bandwidth. We wish we used this much bandwidth. And he says, well, he went and looked at the analytics. We hadn't used it. And he says, what about Roku? So he directs me to go to Roku, and you go into their analytics, and sure enough, there was this massive spike. We had over 1,200 people install our Roku channel. Meanwhile, we hadn't even told anybody that we had a Roku channel, but over 1,200 people installed it. And I guess they might have looked at it for, who knows, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then they decided it wasn't for them or whatever. And some of our playlists were playing over there. So I guess the Roku usage goes back to your bandwidth on Stream Monkey. And we got this massive bill. Well, anyway, Nicholas worked it out with me. He cut it down to like $300 and let me pay it out over 3 months or something like that. He was really nice about it. But we realized we had a real problem here. We're going to have to either kill Roku or, just, find a new way. So Ronnie found a way around it, where instead of, for every $100 that it would cost on Stream Monkey, and they're very moderately priced, by the way, it costs like $5 on Beluga. So Ronnie, why don't you take over and tell them a little bit about what Beluga is and what's going on with that?
Sure. Well, really the fun thing about this whole Night Owl TV experiment is that, Larry, he's kind of the visionary where, we'll be coming into the studio to get ready for a show. And Larry goes, well, comes up with a crazy idea. How would we get this to happen with this? Or, how would we get a studio in L.A. and bring it here? And how can we see them? How can they see us? And, he'll bring me these ideas with no concept of thinking that it's doable or there's a software that already does that. Just, hey, can this be done? And then a lot of the time, the fun part is that I get to create these different things from scratch. So, how do we do something that's never been done? Well, let's sit down and try to figure it out. So when it comes to these online streaming services, in a big way, you're just paying them, they're reselling you bandwidth. So, you go to Livestream or you go to StreamMonkey, and they're charging you for a really nice front end, a really nice user experience, but, they're just reselling you all that bandwidth at a retail price. So we're looking at it and saying, how do we get it at wholesale? How do we get it straight at the cost? How do we cut the cost down? And what we came across is a company called DigitalOcean and another company called Beluga. And what those companies are, DigitalOcean is a server company. So what we do is for $5 a month, and you could even do it for, I think it's about a tenth of a cent per hour if you just want to do it hourly. We keep it on for the whole month. It's only $5, and we set up our own streaming server. So, there's a lot of service infrastructure like Wowza. We use something called Nginx, where what we're able to do is stream through that server for just $5 a month. Now, we still use StreamMonkey for different things like archiving the videos and the different interfaces that they have. But when we have something that we need to get our feed from one place to another for a very cheap price, we sign up and do this DigitalOcean. So with DigitalOcean, we can have our own streaming service anytime we want to. And, the next piece of that is what happens when you have 1,000 people that want to see your stream? What happens if you have 10,000 people? Well, one little $5 server, that's not really
happens to me all the time. Yeah.
Sure. At least that's the dream, right? And so Beluga, they're a CDN, content delivery network. It's a lot like, Amazon has one of these. There's Max CDN, Akamai, a lot of these companies out there. And Beluga, I don't know how they do it, but they offer the service starting at $5 a month. They're a fraction of the price of these big guys like Akamai or Amazon. And, we went from, like Larry was saying, $800-900 a month to do Roku through a typical provider. We put that through Beluga, and we're still at $5 a month, and it really saved our wallet.
Ronnie, give us a double shot here. Just to kind of clarify that a little bit, because I know when Ronnie says it, it comes out like everyone understands. But what we did, or what Ronnie did, was he took the RSS feed intended for Roku from StreamMonkey, and he sent it to Beluga, and then from Beluga, he's now taking the RSS feed from there and then sending that to Roku. So the Roku usage is actually being billed on Beluga instead of being billed from StreamMonkey.
Right.
And like I said, the rate is like 5 cents on the dollar compared to StreamMonkey. And it allowed us to really keep our Roku channel. And, it's a lifesaver. But that to me, which is incredible as it is not the greatest thing that Ronnie has done or that we have done. But that is certainly at the top 3 or 4.
Well, so what you've done is you've just outlined a strategy of using Roku essentially for $5 a month. I mean, that blows up so many other competing products. It's not even fair. You guys shouldn't be allowed to do that.
We might be up to about $20 or $25 a month on Beluga right now, but that would
terrible.
still be so much. That would be a lot on StreamMonkey.
Yeah, if you got a bill for, what'd you say it was, $800 in 1 month?
And the thing about it was we didn't even promote the channel.
Right.
We didn't even tell anybody yet. We weren't ready. So anybody out there watching the show, if you do set up a Roku channel, be sure before you activate it that you're ready, because somehow they promote it or they put it in new channels and people see it and they say, well, let's see what this is, especially if you have an attractive logo.
Right.
They say, oh, that looks interesting, and you have a nice description. And we had that, but we weren't really sure how it worked yet. And before we knew what happened, they promoted it. We had over 1,200 installs in one day. And, you think, oh, wow, that's great. 1,200 people installed my channel on Roku. That's incredible. We didn't, expect that. The truth is, over 800 people uninstalled it within a day. So we were left with because we weren't ready for it.
Right.
It wasn't completely set up right.
Right.
But nevertheless, all those people watching it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, a half hour, it caused all this usage on StreamMonkey. And, you know, the guy there was very understanding. He was totally cool. He like cut $500 off of it. He gave me 3 months to pay. And I couldn't be more than happy with that, you know.
Right.
But and then we found a way around it. One of the more recent ones, actually the most recent workaround we did was over transcoding. One of the big issues that we've had, and I think recently you've been talking about transcoding, Tom, I think, but for those that don't know what transcoding is, you send out a signal, and we like to send the big one, right, 1080?
Oh yeah, we like the high
You know,
quality.
we've got 33,000 upload speed here and 300,000 download. We pay a lot for that, but you know, so we like to send a big signal. However, the problem, and we had many complaints from customers, not complaints, but calls saying all I'm getting is the circle that's kind of, you know, buffering all the time. They can't handle 1920 by 1080. Okay. So then I guess that leaves us with the option of, well, let's just lower the resolution. Well, you know, I don't really want to lower the resolution. We bought these incredible HD cameras. We put in the lighting for it. We want to send a sharp picture. Well, then the answer is you got to take that one signal and transcode it into 3 or 4 different levels. I think you send out 5, Tom, on YouTube, all the way down to 144. And so I called StreamMonkey about this, and they have a transcoding service that if we send them one signal, they will convert it into 4 or 5 signals, you know, at a lesser, you know, resolution. But they charge $149 a month on top of our regular fee to do the transcoding. And I mean, for a half a minute, I was thinking, God, is it worth it? You know, should we do it? You know, I don't know, man. That's a lot of money. I mean, I'm not made of money. You know, we're operating in the red here. And Ronnie came up with a workaround, okay, which is amazing. So Ronnie, and so now we're doing it, and it works great. You want to tell them about it?
Sure. Well, you know, it all goes back to that Nginx on DigitalOcean. They're really our secret sauce. You know, DigitalOcean, again, they've got the $5 a month server. That's a basic, simple server, but you can bump that up as high as you want. So what we ended up doing, you know, some providers will do it for you. I think like Livestream, Google, they'll do that transcoding. They'll eat the cost, essentially, of doing that. But some smaller providers like StreamMonkey, who we use, they charge us to do that transcoding. So what we did is we built our own transcoder. So we went onto the DigitalOcean again and bumped this one up. Instead of $5 a month, this is $10 an hour. So it's quite a bit more expensive of a server, but it's far more powerful. And what we're able to do is using that.
I thought it was
Nginx.
$1 an hour or $2 an hour.
You might be right. I thought it was more like $10 an hour, but
Well, we're on
all
for
I know
like 12
is,
or 13 hours, and it was
Yeah,
like $1 an hour, I thought.
That's right, $10 a show.
A
That's
show.
what I'm thinking of, not an
Yeah.
hour. Yeah, it's $640 a month, but we only do it for one show a week. So
Right.
$1 an hour.
Yeah, so it's like 10 or 13 bucks a show, because
Yep.
we run our replay of our show for about 12 hours.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, we run it all night long. So in any case, what we do is we stream through our normal channel where, you know, we're sending out a stream. Even before StreamMonkey, we're still hitting our DigitalOcean server. That's kind of our intermediary, which handles all our feeding from there. And then at that point, we can send that stream anywhere we want to. So we could send it to Facebook if we wanted to. We could send it to really anywhere, YouTube or you name it. And what we've done there is we've had that server create a high quality medium. We're doing 4 qualities all the way down to a very low quality. And this is sending it all back to StreamMonkey. And then we're basically what we're doing is handling the transcoding on our end. So rather than paying them to do it, we're taking care of all that, just sending them the package, and then all they do is distribute that package.
Right, and let me add one more thing to that, Ronnie. What I think you kind of maybe glossed over is maybe you think it's a given, but to me the amazing part of this is, well, you can't just send the signal to DigitalOcean and expect the transcoding to happen. There is free software out there called, was it FFmpg?
Yep. Correct.
FFmpg,
Yep.
and evidently from what Ronnie tells me, is this FFmpg software is the same software that StreamMonkey would use or any other company would use. It's free.
It's inside of vMix, matter of fact.
It's inside
one of the cornerstones.
It's called FFmpeg. It's completely free. This is what everybody uses, and then they charge you for the service for using this free software. And so what Ronnie did is took the free software and he installed it on our server on DigitalOcean, and he sends the signal to the free software on DigitalOcean, the high signal, and it sends then 4. We're sending 4 or 5?
We're doing 4.
Okay, we're doing 4. Probably could do 5 if we wanted.
Sure.
If we really wanted to, we could do 5. Then that is then transcoding that and sending 4 signals to StreamMonkey. So StreamMonkey doesn't charge us for transcoding. We were going to DigitalOcean anyway, so there's no extra. There might be a little extra, latency issue, but it's free software. And now we're doing it for free instead of paying them $149 a month. And that's the latest workaround that we had.
Mm-hmm. I think
Tom?
Ronnie is easily worth $1 a pound. Yeah.
Well, depends whose weight you're talking about. If it's my weight, it's pretty close because I need to lose about 100. But it's just amazing to me that some of this stuff is free, like FFmpeg, and then that's what they're using to charge you. Before Ronnie came up with that solution, I started kind of calling around to companies, and there was one I think called Restream.
Mm-hmm, yep.
And they were telling me what a great deal theirs was and all that. They're using the same software, and it would have cost still a lot more money. And they're nice guys, and they're probably competitive with everybody else. But a lot of this stuff is out there for free. Now, again, I couldn't do this without Ronnie because he's a programmer. He knows how to do this stuff. To me, Tom, and I don't know how we're doing on time, but the most amazing thing that I feel that we did was the LA studio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I wanted to have an association or a sister studio in Los Angeles. Now, we did this last December, and it really was remarkable. And I was probably being a little too ambitious, thinking that we're going to do our very first show. We spent 3 or 4 months or even 5 months building the studio, getting it ready before we did our first live show this go around with Night Owl TV. And I thought, let's do the first one from Los Angeles. And it was important to me to have a sister studio in LA because that gives you more potential for guests. There's more potential guests for myself in LA. And I thought, well, you don't have to use it every week, but maybe we use it once a month. There's musicians and actors and things like this. And I don't want to bring them in by Skype, I mean, we can, and we've done plenty of guests by Skype, but I'd really like to have a studio. So I went out there, and through some friends of mine, I'm originally from LA. I moved out of there in 2004. One of my friends referred me to a small green screen studio in Beverly Hills. Okay, it was a converted dentist office, but it's a nice little studio with 3 SDI cameras, a green screen. They've got a little talk show set, and it was nice. And the owner of it, the lady who owns it, she gave me a good deal. Okay. Basically $300 a show, and she would have her manager open it up for 3 hours. And so I could have my Classic Film Zone correspondent who lives in LA. She could go there when we do a studio shot in LA, and we could have the guest in the studio together. Now and they have what's called a TriCaster, okay? And I heard a lot about TriCasters, and everybody tells me the TriCaster is the mecca, and this is for big time production companies, and they can cost $20,000 or more, things like this. And I guess that's for big time guys, not for guys like me. Okay, so they got a TriCaster, and we can get this studio for $300 for 3 hours. Starting at 7 o'clock to 10 p.m. Because we go late at night. So and it was our first show, and it was probably too ambitious. We did this show, and I got to tell you, out of 100 shows we've done, going back 5-6 years when we used to be called Acorn TV, it was by far the biggest train wreck we ever had. I mean, it was absolutely horrible. It was so bad that I thought, you know what, I'm done. Let's quit. I can't do this anymore. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. And one of the big issues with it was the audio was messed up, but also with their TriCaster, we have to rely on that studio manager out there to mix the shots. They've got a 3-camera shoot with 2 guests. So you have a solo shot on this one, a solo shot on that one, and then a double shot with the 2 of them. So he mixes the shots as he sees fit, and the TriCaster sends out one stream, and we pull that into vMix. Okay? And we mix that, and I'm anchoring the show here in Minneapolis. I'm anchoring here. We're putting the video clips in from here, any still shots. So we're controlling the show here, but we're pulling in one signal from LA with 3 cameras. Well, unless you have perfect communication And even with perfect communication, you're going to have issues. If he switches from, person 1 to person 2, and you've got the graphic up there saying this is Susan, and he switches to Paul, the graphic says Susan. So, and that kind of stuff really bothers me. It's very unprofessional. I don't like to have those kind of mistakes. It was a nightmare. And so the next night, I got some great encouragement from people that were in the show saying, don't worry, it's going to get better. It was the first show. I asked Ronnie to come over for dinner, and let's go through the show, and let's make notes about how we can improve all these problems that we had. And I made it very clear to Ronnie, and I know Ronnie felt the same way. I mean, Ronnie gets more disgusted with errors than I do. And I said, Ronnie, I don't want to do this from LA ever again unless we can have a separate stream from each camera. I don't want to rely on that guy to mix our shots, okay? I want each camera to come into vMix, and we can mix our own show the way we want to mix it, period. And he just said to me, Larry, the TriCaster can't do that. It sends out one stream. I said, could it work if we sent them 3 computers and we plugged each computer into, we put the Blackmagic card, 3 single Blackmagic cards into 3 small computers, and then from each computer send the Ethernet cable into the modem and send 3 streams? And he said, well, yeah. He said, that would work, except if you really want to do that, we can do it with one computer and get another Decklink Duo card. Each one has its own stream ID number. I said, will it wall off the stream from bleeding into the... He says, yeah. So I said, let's do it. And Ronnie built a computer, and it's maybe a little bit bigger than a cigar box. It's not like our streamer here that you need a forklift to get this thing out of here. But in any case, it was a little bigger than a cigar box. It's got the Decklink Duo card, which, by the way, we have 2 of them in the streamer here. We're using 5 of the 8 inputs. And it's got 4 inputs, as you know, Tom. It costs $500. And I use my daughter in LA, as she lives in LA. I use her as our kind of a location coordinator. She will unplug the cameras from the TriCaster and plug them into, we call it the no TV broadcaster, okay? Because for Night Owl TV, she plugs them into the SDI inputs from the Decklink Duo card and the audio feed as well. Mm-hmm. And Ronnie has it programmed, that computer, to shoot to DigitalOcean in New York. And then from DigitalOcean, we pull those streams into vMix. And now we have all the cameras here. We mix our own shows. We've got the audio. The hardest thing Ronnie said about that, and Ronnie had to sit there and do the programming and finally get the cameras to come up. When we saw him pop in on vMix, I was shocked. I couldn't even believe that we're doing this. And what was I going to say? Ronnie said the hardest thing about it was not so much building the computer, but he said, I knew I was going to have to program the belly of that computer, get into the guts. So I had to build a tunnel. I don't know why that was so hard. He can tell you. But he built a tunnel so we could sit here in Minneapolis, and I think he's bouncing off the server in New York and then into the belly of the computer in LA, and he's programming that computer from sitting here. Okay? What do you say, Ronnie?
Yeah, well, I can tell you what was so hard about it is basically, we've got this box. It's taking these signals, bouncing it out to New York. And that's all fine if it works. But the problem with productions is nothing ever works exactly like you plan. So you've got to dig in there, you've got to unplug things, plug things back in. And we're using a Linux software, we're using FFmpeg, we're using custom servers. It's not real easy to explain to someone else how to troubleshoot what you're trying to troubleshoot. So what we needed was a tunnel. We have to be able to log into that computer and make the changes we need to make. Now, what's hard about that is when you log a computer onto the internet, your IP is always going to change unless you've got what's called a static IP. And even if you had one static IP for your whole studio, you'd have to configure that specific router to route it to that computer. It's not very easy to actually log into that computer. So what we had to do was set up a tunnel where what we're doing is connecting that computer. As soon as it turns on, it's connecting right to the DigitalOcean in New York. And then what we're able to do is through DigitalOcean tunnel into that computer is what they call it, to where we can pull that computer up and we're right here in the studio typing away, and it's like we were sitting in LA typing straight into that computer.
That's awesome.
And so that's what we had to do.
Yeah. So, one thing I learned from that experience, Tom, is, all these guys who jump up and down over a TriCaster, I got to tell you, I'm not impressed. I mean, maybe there's something I'm missing, but we said, screw the TriCaster, let's just bypass it. Okay. And that's what we did. We just bypassed it. And like I bought my daughter I bought a what they call an Air Pelican case. So she brings whatever equipment, including that computer, each time we do a show from LA. And she plugs it in, and we get all 3 camera feeds.
Awesome. Doesn't this feel like the Wild Wild West? I mean, you just
Oh yeah.
You're going into territory that nobody's been in before. You're creating things that haven't been created before, or you're taking 2 or 3 technologies and you're blending them together to create something that hadn't previously existed to solve a problem. I love what you guys are doing. I really do. I'm so excited about it.
Well, Nick, can you see why I say Ronnie's not really my assistant? I'm kind of like his assistant. But
Yeah, I had it backwards, didn't I? Gee whiz. Sorry about that, Ronnie. So I'll have to change the name on the check, Ronnie. You're the one getting the check today, not Larry.
That's good. That's good, because he needs to get paid from somebody.
Well, guys, we are over time, but I'm hoping you guys will hang out for just a few more minutes in the post show.
Sure.
And so that everybody watching live will hang on for a few more minutes in the post show. And for those of you that are not watching live, you got to watch live so you get the whole show. Come on back. All right, so we're gonna cut these guys out for just a second, and we will go back to just me for just a second. Sorry about the tech problems earlier. And it was kind of interesting. Larry said to me as we were getting ready, actually talking earlier about the show, he said, "Oh, I'm going to have Ronnie on." I was like, "Oh." Well, everything I had set up was for me and a guest, not me and 2 guests. So we had to scramble a bit at the last minute. That's why our lower thirds and all that stuff was kind of, I would say, weird, amateurish. That's better, amateurish. Hey, look, thanks so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you watching today. If you're watching us on YouTube after the fact, we hope you'll subscribe. I mean, heck, if you've watched this long into the show, you may as well just subscribe. And if I can help you with anything, shoot me an email, tom@easternshorebroadcasting.com. I'm happy to get you pointed in the right direction. And there may be some products in our store that can help you as well. We will see you next week when we have Dan Mile from Bird Dog TV on to talk about the Bird Dog device that is shaking up the industry. So watching live, don't go away. If you're watching on YouTube, we will see you next week. Take care. We'll be back in just a second with the post show. And we are out. All right, let's get them back. Hello, gentlemen. Uh-oh, y'all switched sides.
Yeah, somebody in the chat room said we should switch the boxes because when we look at each other, I look over at him. It looks like we're looking in opposite directions.
Yeah.
So Ronnie just pulled the switch. We're not used to doing that, but anyway.
Not a problem. Not a problem. That was good. I mean, and for folks that are watching a show like this, thinking, "Golly, can I do a talk show of my own?" Well, you can see after I've been doing this for as many years as I have, as many mistakes as I can make doing my own show. Dive into it. Do your own show. If you make some mistakes, you're not doing it for your technical proficiency. You're doing it for the content you bring. And bringing Larry and Ronnie today, that makes it worth, not having everything perfect. So I'm delighted that you guys are here. And it doesn't bother me hardly at all that you switch positions, because I'm going to fix your wagon and switch you back here in just a second.
Let me just say this too, Tom. Is that when we were streaming back in 2011 and 12, and then there was a period of about 3 years we weren't streaming. Long story on that, and then we picked it up again last year. But in any case, when we were doing it in 11 and 12, we were using VidBlaster.
I remember.
And Yeah, we were using VidBlaster, and I liked it because I thought it was pretty easy to operate. I mean, to me, vMix is fantastic, but honestly, I need Ronnie to operate it. I mean, there's certain things I can kind of do and stuff like that, and it definitely has more power. It's definitely more powerful, more potential than VidBlaster, without a doubt. But when we started up again, I had to somehow, I forgot what it was. I had to kind of reinstall it, I think. And for whatever reason, I couldn't reinstall it. Maybe I needed my registration key. I can't remember what the issue was. And that's when I found out. And I had purchased it back in 2011 from a reseller out in Los Angeles, in Glendale. And in any case, I found out that, this guy who runs VidBlaster was not such a nice guy. And now all of a sudden he kind of obsoleted it on us and said, well, that license is over 5 years old and now it's by the year now. We don't support it. And so he kind of like pulled an extortion number on us. And like, if we want it, it's $1,000 a year. If we want to get the, I don't know, it had 50 modules or something like that. And that kind of pissed me off. I mean, it really did. And so that's when I started looking at potential other options, although I was willing to spend the $1,000 because I was so easy, comfortable with VidBlaster. And that's what really led me to you. And, I found you on the internet and everything. And you said, well, just try the free trial, and you told me how you used to like VidBlaster too, but this is really a great option and all that. It's so much cheaper. It's so much better. And, we tried it for, I think, the trial, and then we went and made the purchase. But, that's what led me to you, Tom. And, of course, I bought my vMix program from you. And one of these days we'll upgrade. I don't know when, but I'm sure we will.
Well, thank you for the commercial. That's always appreciated, yeah.
Yeah, and you've been great. I mean, whether there was money in it for you or not, you were always just willing to be there and help and give us some good advice.
Wow, look at this. The check is definitely in the mail on this one. There is no question about that. Ronnie,
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy. You didn't have good things to say about me, so Larry gets the check.
Sure.
No, I'm just teasing.
I get the check or I get the bill.
Yeah, that's right. You get the bill.
I usually get the bills, okay?
But, I mean, what a great story you guys have. I mean, of number one, coming from VidBlaster, which in its day had a lot of potential. It could have been really, really great. And it was definitely easy to learn and definitely easy to use, at least 20% of it. When you got into the higher parts is where it tended to get a little flaky. And for a lot of us, Larry, a lot of us cut our teeth on VidBlaster. We got hooked on live streaming with VidBlaster, and we knew it wasn't perfect, but, it was good and it was working. And then vMix showed up on the horizon, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is everything I've ever wanted and more for less money.
Yeah.
I mean, just
a lot less
win-win.
money. A lot less money, Tom. I was already $1,000 into VidBlaster. I think it was their studio version or something like that. And I was even thinking I'll upgrade to their broadcast version because I want the 50 modules or whatever. And I thought, God, we got to have more modules. We need to, 50. And the funny thing about that is with vMix, you have 10,000 modules. And I thought, well, no one's ever going to use that. But Ronnie, in our last show,
just
tell them how many modules we have.
Yeah, well, that show was the most we've ever used, and we had photos inside of photos, so we really had more photos than this. But we had 165 modules that we were using just
in our last show, which to me is amazing. I don't know how anybody could use more than that. You should see what the screen looks like.
We're going to send you a bill for all those
modules.
extra. Yeah.
Yeah, we could have never done that with vMix. I mean, with VidBlaster.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's pretty amazing.
And when you start looking at the whole fact that now vMix can set up what we've set up today, which is a vMix to vMix call from the East Coast to the West Coast. And frankly, the guys in the chat room were saying your video looks better than my video. I mean, you guys are coming in and look really pristine.
Are you using an HD video camera or just a webcam?
HD video camera. Yep, 1080p.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Yeah, us too. Ours is a Canon. We have Canon HFG 20s in here. I need to get a Canon HFG 40. if anybody has a HFG 40 they're selling for about $500 or $600, call me because I need it. Because the HFG 20s only have a 10 power zoom, and for our short space that we have here, that's fine.
Right.
But when we do the watch show, we want to zoom in even
Ah.
tighter. Ronnie's got the remote control zoom, and we have those pan and tilt remote control cradles.
Right.
So he can just pan on me a little bit,
Sure.
Ronnie, just to show him. He can pan either way. He can zoom in, zoom out just by remote control. So, but we need a HFG 40 that's got the 20 power zoom, and they're all like $1,100. And right now, money's tight.
Well, they're saying in the chat room that the HFG 30 has a 20X also, so you might be able to find a refurb on one of those.
Right. It's HFG 30 is also a discontinued model for them now. Yep. They go for about the same price, full bore. But you're right. You might be able to find a used HFG 30. But I figure this way, I really want that HFG 40. I just do. But I would settle for an HFG 30 if I can get it for $500.
There you go.
And it's working if it's working. Yeah.
All right, so let's give some of our viewers some stuff. If they want to go watch some of your shows, what are they going to go watch and when? Sure.
Go to nightowltv.com. That's our website, nightowltv.com.
Yep.
And the thing is, we do not archive the Sterling Underground show. I mean, we do have records of it. We do have copies of it. We have replays and all that, but we don't make them available because they have the prices. The stipulation we have from the manufacturer, who is my full-time job and everything, I'm the VP of marketing, sales and marketing for the company, is that we can only announce the prices during the show. We can't put the prices out there in any of our promos leading up to the show, and we can only sell the goods during the show and up until 9 o'clock the next morning. So we don't archive the replays of those publicly. But the Chillin' with Larry Magen shows, those are all archived. We even have shows going all the way back to 2010, although those aren't readily available on the site. But you can get all of Season 3 and Season 4 starting in last December if you just go to where it says the menu item Watch, and then you can go to shows, you can go to On Demand, archives, and you'll be able to see the replays there, and you can watch any of them. Including the show that was a disaster. That was Season 3, Episode 1, where we wanted to just quit. I mean, it was bad. The show from L.A. where everything went south. We decided we're not going to hold it back. We'll just stick it up there.
But, Larry, if you hadn't had that experience, if you hadn't had that disaster, you wouldn't be where you are now.
Well, here's why I was so upset about it. You're 100% correct, Tom, and I should have saved this. I should have saved it, but I used an old friendship of mine from high school, and his name is Paul Hefty, and I hadn't spoken to Paul literally in about 47 years. Okay, we went to high school together. Paul was, a grade, actually, one grade ahead of me. I was only 14; he was 16. And I played trumpet as a kid. Paul Hefty played trumpet also. And I tried out for the orchestra, and they named in our high school, the orchestra there was like the greatest in all of LA, and we had 20 trumpet players in the orchestra, 4 first trumpets. I didn't even think I was going to make it as a 14-year-old. The guy named me as the 4th chair first trumpet because I could hit a high C on call. Paul was the 1st chair first trumpet. His father is a very famous composer named Neil Hefty. Who wrote and composed for Frank Sinatra and many, many others. And in any case, Paul had it in his blood, and he befriended me. Our band rehearsals were at 7 in the morning. He would pick me up at 6:30, come out from out of his way to get me and bring me to practice and stuff like that. And he really looked out for me. I had no friends in the school. I skipped a grade. All my friends were back in junior high and all that stuff. So anyway, I thought, Paul would make a damn good guest. And it so happens Paul is now reviving his father's music. And he formed a band called Hefty Plays Hefty. And he's the orchestra leader. He plays guitar. He doesn't play trumpet anymore. He plays guitar. And so he plays at the Herb Alpert Vibrato Grill in L.A., which is a very, very prestigious venue. And so I asked Paul to do the show. I reached out to him, and he said, sure. And it was our first show, and I put him in the L.A. studio. Okay, and everything went wrong. I mean, he couldn't hear us. We couldn't hear him. We had the wrong graphics. It was absolutely, for me, it was like personally embarrassing. Okay? It was embarrassing. I felt terrible about it. And I really wanted to give up. I said, this is BS, and this is not who I am, and I'm kind of a perfectionist and things like that. And the next day, I got an email from Paul, and I apologized for the technical difficulties and everything. But I got an email from Paul the next morning saying that, hey, don't worry about it. You're going to fix it. I know you. It's going to be better. It was still a blast being on there. And it just changed my whole outlook, really, that he was so understanding about it. And that's when I gave Ronnie a call and said, all right, listen, can you come over tonight for dinner? I'm buying. Let's go through this thing. And that's what happened. And like you said, without that experience, we wouldn't have came up with the no TV broadcaster that we built and so many other things.
You'd still be using a TriCaster.
Well, we don't have a TriCaster. I mean,
no, but I mean, in LA, you would have been using a TriCaster. You would the pain wouldn't have been great enough.
I would have done another. I don't think I would have done another show with it unless we don't understand the TriCaster, and maybe it does have the capabilities of sending out 3 streams, but I don't think so. Yeah, Ronnie says no.
Nope.
But are you familiar with the TriCaster, Tom?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Enough to know that you can do everything, or you can do 90% of what a TriCaster can do. You can do it in vMix for a fifth of the cost.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And yet the guys who own TriCasters, it's like they want to beat their chest like, we have a TriCaster. We spent $20,000. We have a TriCaster. We spent $10,000. It just doesn't impress me. I was very disappointed.
Okay, it's kind of funny. Y'all's video has gotten kind of wonky here. Isn't that interesting? Can you tell?
Well, I don't know. Ronnie, anything?
You want us to try a reconnect, Tom?
Let's see.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It does look a little bit. Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, try a quick reconnect. Let's see if that'll make that go away.
Sure.
Let's do that.
I'm running a beta, so that may be on the beta. Okay, they'll be right back. And there they are. Right back, and everything's cleared up.
Excellent.
Good deal.
Excellent.
All right.
And if anybody wants to buy a mug, you can go to our Moonlight Marketplace, Night Owl TV, and it's got our Looney character over here. Okay? And it's got the Sinatra fedora, the sunglasses, and even a little soul patch down here. And it's only $20 plus shipping. Now, it's overpriced, of course, but the point is it's giving us support. We sell 1 or 2 mugs a week, people supporting our programs. So, we'll take it. Every little bit helps.
Well, I would say to have something like that in your shelf, it's a conversation starter.
Well, we tell people, get one of these and have your favorite beverage while you're watching our show. We have a little tagline. It's whatever gets you through the night. Okay. Yep. And it's a takeoff actually on an old Sinatra quote. Sinatra once said, I'm for whatever gets you through the night, meaning I think, if you meet a woman or something like that. So we just kind of shortened it to Night Owl TV, whatever gets you through the night, If you're up late, you can't sleep, well, tune in to us. We're on very late. We do shows at, midnight Eastern.
All right. One of my friends in the chat room, Michael Graves, has a great quote. Ronnie, I think this is really directed at you. It says, tools do not replace skills. A skilled engineer can make magic with whatever tools are available.
That's true.
I love that. Thank you,
Isn't that
Michael.
great?
I agree 100%. That's great. Yep.
And Ronnie's just like, oh, shucks.
Yeah, when I used to record bands, I learned from Tom Tucker, who for many years he was the chief engineer for Prince. And one of the things that he's the one that taught me a similar quote along those lines is he goes, I can take a Mackie board, which, Mackie, they're a great board, but, they're nothing like a Yamaha or nothing like a SSL in terms of mixing in a studio. And he goes, yeah, I can take a Mackie board and knock out a mix that sounds 10 times better than what most people can. And I didn't really believe it, but then one time I brought in a mix of mine and had him do the same thing I had done. I had spent hours and hours on this mix and sat down with him for 20 minutes. And, in about 20 minutes, it sounded almost just like a Prince record. It's all about, good engineer, they can do it.
Yeah, our studio, Tom, is about 2 miles from Paisley Park, from Prince's old studio. So when people say, where are you located, I always tell them we're about 2 miles from Paisley Park, and everybody in Minnesota knows where that is. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, guys, I don't want to keep you any longer. You've been really gracious with your time this afternoon and generous, and I really appreciate it. Larry and Ronnie and the guys in the chat room, have been actually pretty quiet today, and I think that's because they've all been taking notes. They're just like, whoa, hold on a second. How did he spell that? What was somebody said? RJ said, how do you spell beluga? I gotta go find out about that.
Belluga.
Yeah.
Belluga. It's funny.
They got it. They got the
first,
links and everything.
Oh, when Ronnie first found beluga, okay, I looked at the site and I said, wait a minute, Ronnie, these guys are Russian guys, okay? This beluga, it's like these are guys, I guess, who own it. They're Russian, and nothing. I mean, I'm of Russian descent myself, okay? So there's nothing against Russians, all right? But I said these guys are Russian, and they're in Florida, okay? There's no way I believe this $5 thing, okay? This is a ripoff waiting to happen. And he says, well, let's just see. It's only going to cost us $5 to find out. I said, well, okay, let's try it, because I don't know. It seems like all the scams in the world come out of Florida, really, No offense to anybody who lives in Florida, but let's face it, there's a lot of crap coming out of Florida. And sorry, it just is. And then, Russian guys to boot. I mean, like the world, hackers of the world must all come from Russia, I think. Mm-hmm. And I was so doubting of this beluga thing, but it's turned out to be like the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Works well.
Well, I hope the fact that you guys have shared your secret won't make it end up going bad for you in the future, because all of a sudden they think that they've been discovered and now they can raise their rates. But good comments in the chat room from Bill and Martin and looks like Kurt and John.
Somebody just wrote, Russians in Florida, mobster on vacation.
Yeah, that's Jan. He's over. Well, he was in Sweden. I don't know where he is now. He took a new job. He's from Denmark, but he's moving all around. In fact, Jan and his wife Marie were the ones that started our Facebook group. I owe a debt of gratitude to them for starting that. But yeah, you guys are princes. Thank you so much for coming on, and I'd love to check back with you guys. I'd love to have you back again. Yeah, and
anytime,
if anybody is
Thank
looking
for
for a
all your
watch,
help, Tom.
if I'm looking for a watch, now where am I going to go to find a watch?
I'm telling you guys right now, the deals we have on Sterling Underground is amazing. Come to our show tomorrow night. It's going to start at 11 p.m. Eastern. We normally start at 12, but there's for the summertime, we're doing Chillin' every other week right now. So we don't have Chillin' with Larry Magen first. We usually do that show first, follow with Sterling Underground. So tomorrow night, Sterling Underground is 11 p.m. Eastern. Okay, and you can also sign up on our mailing list from our website. We send out an email. But you'll be shocked. I mean, literally shocked at the deals we have. I mean, these are being sold below cost. I mean, obviously, as the vice president of the company, I have access to the goods, and these are goods we're clearing out of the vault, but there's not big quantities. There's only like 5 of these or 6 of those, and the following is growing every week, man, and we had our biggest show last week, so tremendous value.
So I can go to Night Owl TV and get hooked up with Sterling Underground from there?
For sure, 100%, Yep.
Okay, great. Gentlemen.
Thanks, Tom.
Adieu. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
My sign-off is like this: peace, love, and all good things.
I love it.
Thanks, Tom.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks,
We'll
guys.
see ya.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Weren't those guys a hoot? I tell you what. Gee whiz. The great guests just keep coming and coming, and I don't know how these guys, put up with me, but they do, and we had a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed the show today and the post show. Lots of great info today. The post show will appear maybe in 2 pieces. I'm not sure, because we had to drop the stream for a second. Sometimes YouTube will keep those things stitched together. Sometimes they separate. So that the beginning of the show and the after show may be on 2 separate videos. We'll just see. But the recorded show, of course, will be all together, but it'll miss the post show. Anyway, see you guys next week when we have Dan Mial with Bird Dog TV here. And, have a great week. Do some great streaming stuff. Make us proud. Don't forget to join the Facebook group if you haven't already and share what you're doing there. It's a great group, a really valuable resource. I can't wait every morning to wake up and see what what the crazy Europeans have written while I was resting. I don't sleep much, though. I just a very short period of time. Anyway, guys, thanks, Mike and Henry and Michael and Bill and Andres and Joe and MT and Guido, Martin, Jan, Kurt, Daniel, M1 Sport, RJ, Martin, Jesse, Jerome, Chris, Giles, Martin, Dan, Dave, Kenny, Prashana, John, Tommy. I don't know that I want to thank Tommy. Anyway, Ted, Clint, Martin, Peter, Ken, Richard. I have an idea for you. I'm going to Facebook message you in just a minute. We need a candy show. I think the time has come for a candy show. Elmar, Dave, Gilliam, Todd, Chris, Rod, Udall. Oh, doggone it. Udall, I was gonna play the video that you sent me today, but I didn't get lined up on it. Next week for sure. And Byron. Guys, thanks so much. We'll see you later. We're going to let the show just run out. So we'll catch you on the flip side. Be good.